All right, folks, this is Rabble Rousing Rich Bergeron.
And psychic Tom Paget, full predictions, ready to go.
All right, and we're going to probably have a little bit of a quick hit show, even though we were off last week. And I'm still recovering here from whatever flu's going around up here. So you might think I'm an old man, but I haven't aged. Just get a scratchy voice. But anyway, we got a lot of news to cover. We got some big boxing matches coming up. We got some UFC fights in Boston tonight. Wish I could be there, but stuck up here in New Hampshire. Reyes versus Weidman. We had a great UFC fight last weekend. Main event was Joanna Jedrzejczyk getting a big win and looking absolutely crazy buff after the weight cut at this weight. So she just wiped out the karate hottie there pretty easily. And it did supposedly break her foot, but then came out and said that it wasn't broken. So she did pretty well for after suffering those two losses to Rose Namajunas, losing her belt, and wondering if she still had anything left. She put it all together and made it happen. So that was a great show. I didn't get to watch it, but read plenty about it. And so tonight in Boston, we have a pretty big card. Did you get to see that one, Tom, at all? Before we go on that?
No.
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 Well, it was a pretty decent one. Watterson made it a couple rounds. Made it the whole fight, but went to distance. But it was a unanimous decision win for Joanna. Also, Cub Swanson got back in the winning column over Kron Gracie by unanimous decision. So that was a good one. It was from Tampa, Florida, by the way. UFC Fight Night 161. Nico Price got a win over James Vick. First round knockout from an up kick. 1 minute and 44 seconds in. Amanda Ribas over Mackenzie Dern by unanimous decision. And Matt Frevola over Luis Pena by split decision. A lot of decisions. Won't go through the whole card there. But tonight, we have Chris Weidman back in action against Dominic Reyes. I don't know if Reyes is from the Boston area, but Weidman being from New York can't be very positive for him coming into Boston. But he's 14-4.
I believe Reyes is from. I believe Reyes is from Brazil, so I don't think that.
Right.
I don't think you couldn't have too much of a hometown advantage. I wouldn't think.
Well, I don't know.
Fascinating fight. Yeah, this is a fascinating fight for Weidman. Because historically, moving up to 205 has not worked too well for these extra middleweights. But
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Reyes is undefeated, so that's a problem. But Weidman does have a vast amount of experience versus the best of the best in the UFC. So we'll see how that works out. I really don't know who to pick. I guess I just like to go with the undefeated fighter usually. So in this situation, I guess I'd go with Reyes.
Yeah, you would think, because Weidman, it just seems like he had that great peak with the silver and then a few defenses, and then all of a sudden, I think he's 1-4 in his last 5 fights, I think. So, we'll just see if he can get it back. History does not favor him in this one, but you never count, as Cub Swanson showed us last week, you never count experience out.
Right. Then we have Yair Rodriguez, who we've talked about multiple times on the show. He always seems to be involved in some kind of controversy. He had been separated from the UFC, then kissed and made up, and then his last fight with Jeremy Stevens ended with an eye poke situation. So they were heated before that fight, and now they're super heated for this one, and it's the co-main event. So we'll see how that works out. And then you got a guy, Greg Hardy, who gave up his NFL career, or kind of got forced out because of a domestic violence situation. He's going against a guy named Ben Sassoli in the third fight of the night, and this is the guy that has had limited fights under the UFC banner, under the MMA banner, period. And he's being treated like a superstar just because he had a football career at one point. But yeah, it's just crazy to see how fast this guy has risen up. But it also makes you think about how many other football players could have been great fighters that never tried it, you know. And it's one of those things that more and more every day you see that the football players are starting to train in mixed martial arts and boxing, particularly for reflexes and for, you know, little moves to get a tackle or, you know, take a guy down, and you know, hand control, all that stuff. So it's interesting.
You know, Rich, now that you mentioned that, there's a defensive end for the Cleveland Browns, Myles Garrett, and he was training at Strong Style with Stipe.
Yep.
And Stipe had nothing but compliments about him. Now, I don't know if you heard what happened 2 days ago, but Myles Garrett was downtown Cleveland, and a fan, quote unquote, was next to him and said, "Hey, could I get a selfie?" So Myles Garrett, being the fan-friendly guy that he is, agreed to that, and the fan came over, and as he took the selfie, he punched Myles Garrett in the mouth.
Oh, my God. What a pain in the ass.
So, someone behind it seen the whole thing happen, and they got the license number. And I've been too busy to even look at the local paper to see if they've arrested the guy, but there was a name involved, so the police know who they're looking for. And Myles Garrett, of all the specimens to punch in the mouth,
yeah, probably not a good idea.
I mean, if Myles Garrett had, you take an average NFL lineman on either side, offense or defense, and even if they have zero fight training, just on pure physicality, they're going to be a load. Well, anyways, Myles Garrett tweeted that next time the guy should put his hips into it so I could feel it. So
must have been like the guy that Connor punched in the bar. Really feels the same way.
yeah, exactly. So you wonder, first off, what kind of moron would even think of doing something like that. So keep it posted on how that shakes out. I just had to add that little zinger there. We're talking about football players, you know. So
yeah, reminds me of that.
Be interested to see Hardy, because Hardy's hype train can be derailed very quick. One loss tonight, and there's going to be a lot of questions asked. Okay, you know, we know he's on the fast track for his publicity, but we'll see what happens.
Right. We also have blast from the past here. Joe Lazon fighting in the 10th fight of the night. It's going to be one of the main event card fights. He's fighting versus Jonathan Pierce, who actually does not have a Sherdog picture. I don't see his record on here. I don't know much about him, but you know, when Joe Lazon's fighting a guy without a Sherdog picture, it's time for retirement. It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, you know, maybe this is just one of those feel-good retirement fights. You know, just as a gift for a guy that's been around for so long. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, hopefully he goes out on top. He's had his ups and downs, but always will be a legend of the sport. By the way, he just exploded out of nowhere with natural talent. It's one of those stories. He just couldn't keep up with the local, you know, not the local, but the up and coming young guys. You know, but a lot of fights under that guy's belt. Also have Macy Barber versus Jillian Robertson, Deron Wynn versus Darren Stewart, Charles Rosa versus Manny Bermudez, Molly McCann versus Diana Belbita, Kyle Bochniak versus Sean Woodson, Randy Costa versus Boston Salmon again. And this is a UFC fight. This is a UFC fight where both guys don't have any Sherdog picture. So there you go. Boston Salmon. He acted like a Boston Salmon last time, too. He fell right on the ground.
Well, we'll see how he does in friendly territory. I don't even know if he's from Boston.
No, I don't think so.
Check that.
Boston's fighting in Boston, though. Maybe he has a home name advantage.
Yeah, there you go.
Court McGee fighting Sean Brady on the third fight of the night. Brendan Allen against Kevin Holland. And the first fight of the night, Daniel Spitz versus Tanner Bozer. And we also had some fights last night in the PFL, Professional Fighters League. I guess they're already in their playoffs. Wait for that to load up here. What else we And in the main event there, Loik Radzhabov beat Chris Wade. Loik was 13-1-1 going in. Chris was 17-6. That was a unanimous decision win. In the co-main event, Nathan Schulte beat Ahmed Aliev by technical submission, arm triangle choke. That was the second round.
Yeah, that was one of the most incredible submissions I've seen. That guy's just in another world.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see this stuff coming on ESPN too, competing with UFC. Not on the same time slot, obviously, but sharing time on ESPN with UFC. But also, I saw One Championship and did their first fight on TV recently. I don't know if you caught any of that, but I fell asleep.
Right,
it was kind of late at night.
Right, last Saturday night, TNT.
Yeah, so that was crazy. Just to see that difference, and even my girlfriend was just like, what is this, wrestling? Because the guys were coming out with all the fire and everything, and doing all the
Japanese
promos.
know how to book up the show. They have that pageantry down pretty good.
Yeah. So, it might not be the fastest growing sport in the world anymore, but it's definitely got its major people involved in trying to promote it and keep it going. So I think, unfortunately for the UFC, which pulled its IPO recently, what I think that's going to mean is that they're going to not be able to get the best fighters anymore that they used to, because you've got a lot of threats coming through the pipeline. And I know that antitrust suit is still out there, but it's kind of sad. It's at this point, it's like they could literally turn around and say, well, look at all these competitors that are out there now. How could you say we're a monopoly? But it's not because they didn't try to be. That's the problem. It's just they finally lost the steam to fight off everybody. So these other leagues are starting to get better fighters, and it's going to be interesting to see if they start co-promoting with each other to really put the UFC in trouble. Anyway, we also had Daniel Pineda over Jeremy Kennedy, submission guillotine choke, 4 minutes into the first round. Chris Wade over Nate Andrews by majority decision. Islam Mamedov by majority draw, actually, draw over or with Loik Radzhabov. Ahmed Aliev beat Rashid Magomedov by unanimous decision, and Lance Palmer beat Alex Gilpin by unanimous decision. And then another Schulte, Nathan Schulte, and he fought twice in the same night. That's why he beat Ramsey Nijam earlier in the night by a rear naked choke. 52 seconds in, so obviously he was fresh for the next fight. And then again, Jeremy Kennedy had the win in his first fight over Luis Rafael Laurentino. Daniel Pineda beat Moivid Khaibuliev. Alex Gilpin over Andre Harrison, and Lance Palmer over Alexander Almeida. And we're going to save the boxing until we can get Tony on. We did have the story about Claressa Shields there. Her opponent had a trainer at the fight there in Flint, Ali Bashir. He ended up in the hospital. He got punched by a brother-in-law or something of Claressa, and now he's facing felony charges, I believe. So it's been a big debacle, but
yeah, what a
craziness!
What a circus right at the weigh-in.
Yeah, nuts. Also, Cain Velasquez making news lately, not for anything MMA related, except for the fact that he has officially retired from MMA. He's not coming back. And he has already made it to the WWE. And he's going to fight Brock Lesnar on WWE SmackDown. Or he already did, I think. I don't know. I don't follow wrestling close enough. There it is, yeah. Last night's SmackDown. Yeah, it was last week.
Oh, this is the kind of thing that you really wonder what could have been.
Yeah. So
I'm just flashing back to, again, and we've talked about this before, but that ESPN the magazine article after he beat Brock Lesnar, and he was at his peak then. He didn't seem to have a weakness, and it just he's the first MMA fighter I'm aware of where it even caused a big discussion. Has MMA reached an evolutionary dead end? Is this the final? And it turned out it wasn't really like that. But
well,
all those training injuries.
I should support WWE more, and I should watch it more because it's actually owned by one of my neighbors up here. Triple H lives in Molten Borough, which is like 30 minutes from me, and I work there a lot. I get a lot there, actually. But, yeah, he was also on the news the other day on ESPN with Tyson Fury, who set up himself for a WWE debut in Saudi Arabia, of all places. And he's going to fight Braun Strowman.
And it's so funny you mention that because as Strowman was saying, it's kind of sad in a sense because in the old days, boxers would turn to pro wrestling when they were at the end of, like Joe Louis, for example.
Right.
When they were at the end of their careers and they couldn't do real fighting anymore, so they're like that infamous movie, Requiem for a Heavyweight.
All right, well,
it was considered sad. Now the culture's changed so much, it's imperative to get your brand out there. I guess with Tyson Fury. So, more power to him.
And now this is a perfect time to join Tony. Because he just texted me or emailed me, I'm here. But, yeah, I'm sure he'll have something to say about this one. And it already happened, the supposed brawl there with Brock Lesnar. I did actually remember seeing something.
Please leave your message for...
Oh, no, I got a message.
Tony Henneckow.
Yikes. All right. Try again. Well, we didn't hang up yet. All right. One more time. But yeah, Tyson Fury was a little bit different story than Cain Velasquez making this debut. Because Cain has actually been wrestling. He's got a head start, but Tyson not only hasn't been wrestling, but he has some really big money fights coming up. So it was kind of funny watching him get interviewed about this because he basically admitted, yeah, my promoter did not want me to do this, but you only live once, so I got to do it. I want to do it.
Later.
There he is.
That's fine.
All right.
You're about as
Just filling there.
You're about as hard to locate as a spinning tornado.
No. Well, I did this amazing thing today. I took a vacation from work.
Nice.
I don't do that very often.
So did I.
So I took today off, ran all my errands in the morning, and then it was like I ran out to lunch, and I was like, when we were getting back, I was gonna have my pen in the jar, and I'm like, shit, I'm missing calls.
Anyway, we were just talking about wrestling, your favorite subject of all time, except for Rocky Marciano and boxing.
I love it.
And the side angles there of Cain Velasquez getting into WWE and the Brock Lesnar rivalry starting up again. And also Tyson Fury, who has decided to pick up the sport all of a sudden and already got a matchup with Braun Strowman in Saudi Arabia coming up.
Well, I mean, that's in 2 weeks. It's in 13 days. So part of I know they're paying him like $14 million for this. It's something like economically high. But is that going to affect? He just took a serious cut in that feet. 5 weeks ago that happened. And from being a person that's had stitches, you shouldn't be doing any type of contact for a good bit of time. And, something, rough and tumble, a bump can happen. You aggravate that, you're, losing a shot at a potential 20-some to 30-some million dollars.
Good point. Very good point.
Well,
yeah. And that's such a volatile, with a, entertainment. It's a volatile form of entertainment where these trained professionals that have been doing this for years suffer injuries, blowing out knees, bad backs, shoulders, necks. Now you're just going to say, you take a funny fall, especially as a guy that's close to 400 pounds, that's a risk I don't know if I would take if I was him or his management team.
Well, we just finished talking about how his promoter didn't think it was a good idea. But Tyson says, hey, it's my life. I'm going to do what I want to do, and I want to do this. And you only live once.
He's an entertaining guy. He's a charismatic guy. So I can see him wanting to get into something like this. I know back in the day it was a lot of guys, and I know a lot of fighters have done this, going back with Tyson, Buster Douglas, the names I definitely remember doing it. But even going back before that, you had the thing with Ali jumping in the ring with Gorilla Monsoon to promote the fight with Antonio Inoki, which ended up being one of the downfalls of Ali's career near the end, because Inoki was kicking him in the legs and it ended up causing damage to Ali's legs. So now, but normally what would happen, you'd have the guest referee. The guest referee gets in there, and usually he knocks out the heel when it's over. Mike Tyson did it with Shawn Michaels. Buster Douglas did it with Randy Savage. So that was.
Well, here's an idea.
Get the guy involved.
Maybe they'll put him in headgear.
And then, but also in some things.
We'll run out to the ring in headgear, so he won't have to worry about the cut.
With Tyson?
Tyson Fury.
I highly doubt that's going to happen.
That would be hilarious.
And imagine telling Tyson Fury you can't do this. Who wants that job? How hard would that be to control him?
It's one of those time you tell him. Tell me how it works out.
Yeah. That's your job, buddy, not mine.
It reminded me of a billboard, like a meme they had one time, and it was the guy's name was Chuck Norris, personal injury lawyer, and then the joke was, tell him he can't represent people that he's actually injured. I'll wait.
That's funny. Yeah. Anyway.
So Tom, let me ask you, what do you think tonight's matchup that I'm going to?
What do you think? What?
What do you think of tonight's matchup that I'm headed down to?
Oh, well, God, it's so intriguing because I go back and forth with that because Better Bear is just, he's strong as an ox. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of fluidity, but you could tell this guy's got, he's just going to keep coming, and it's just so much strategy. I don't know what Teddy's going to have his guy doing, if it's going to be a stick and move thing, or if he's just going to stand there and go to war with him, but
you figure, when you say being a strong looking ox kind of guy, so he's got like a Marciano type of physicality to him, for lack of a better term. You're right. He wasn't pretty out there, but he was physical. He was strong. He was durable. And every time he touched you, no matter where he touched you, he caused pain. He caused damage. He caused bruising. He caused your body to sap strength. I mean, you look at the matchup and you say, like, wow. And you remember, you don't have a lot of TV on these guys to really, really look at. Just limited samples, because both of their starting their careers off untelevised on foreign soil. So now you look great. You got two world class trainers. Atlas has been doing it longer than Iceman, but Iceman's been a top trainer over the last decade plus. So you have good guys in the corner. You have two world-class athletes. I mean, you're looking at 14-0 all knockouts, who's fought some decent competition. He hasn't fought a lot of stiffs. And then you look at a guy who's 17-0 with routine knockout, just coming off a big win off of Donna Stevenson, impressive knockout. And so, and he's got Teddy out in his corner, who's been around, probably since Kane versus Fable. So it's like you got an intrigue here, and it's like you look at it back and forth, and it's like you don't know where to go with it. But you don't. And that's what makes it good.
Exactly. It's great matchmaking, and it may come down to the best kid. Because Benavidez, I believe, has been on the canvas a few times. Wow. I mean, you take one guy, I could take the other, and sleep quite well. So this is really going to be just a strategic battle, and I'll be able to watch it very objectively because I like I like both guys. I mean, I have a lot of respect for.
I like both
trainers.
Guys. I like both trainers.
And it's almost a problem because normally I like one guy to get behind, but in this case I'll just look at it just very neutral. And but the big question of the night that inquiring minds want to know: where are your seats at?
I actually just got them the other day. I'm not sure. The League of Course Center I've only been to once or twice, but there's really, honestly, for a fight, no bad seat. So I'm lower level, but I don't know exactly where. I don't have the tickets in hand yet. They're at will call.
Oh, okay. So are you going to be in costume? Are you going to be?
No, I am not going to be in the Apollo Creed costume. What I'll be in is don't give me these ideas. I was just being one of my sleeveless Team Tornado boxing shirts and my black fedora. So the black fedora might catch, the camera's wandering eye.
Nice.
I'll tell you what was funny last night. I had the weigh-in last night, and Iceman and John Scully posted a photo today of a gentleman that he met at the weigh-in, a big husky guy, right?
Yeah,
and
I saw that.
I was impressed because he goes, this guy came up to me and knew who I was. And he goes, I was really impressed by that. The guy's an old friend of mine from LA Fitness. Big, and the guy's of Ukrainian descent. He's America, he's born and raised in America, but he's of, Ukrainian lineage. So he, a lot of times, will get behind a lot of those, Eastern European, Ukrainian fighters, Soviet fighters. So he's like, oh my God, this friend of mine. I'm like, hey, he's a friend of mine.
Yeah, with the feedback that John gets on all his posts, I'd really be surprised if there's anybody on Facebook that follows boxing that doesn't know who that guy is.
I saw you comment on there saying, who doesn't know Iceman Scully? But yeah, that big guy in the picture, his name's Bob. He actually went with me and a few other friends to the Joe Frazier statue dedication a couple years ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, which one is which here? Which is Atlas's fighter? And which is Scully's?
Scully's fighter is the guy that has the beard.
Oh, that doesn't help.
Yeah. He has. Yeah.
I don't know what they look like.
He has like the dark brown beard.
I want to say Gavozdik. Gavozdik. Is that the guy's name? That's Scully's.
Gavozdik. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good, Rich. Okay. He's got a law degree.
Really?
Did you know that?
I
read that today.
That's nuts.
Because I've been following the Facebook event set up by Russell Peltz and Michelle Rosado, and they have been a lot of posts on there. They're doing a great job on this promotion, and one thing they noticed, he does have a law degree.
Wow.
Oh, you know who else is going to be there tonight?
Who?
For meet and greet? I don't know if you guys ever heard of him. He's becoming a pretty decent fighter. He's won a few fights here and there. Lomachenko.
Yeah,
well, this is Gavozdik.
Right.
This is the guy that. This is the
So
guy
you think
that
I'm going to try to get a photo up of Vasily?
Yeah.
Oh, I have total confidence. My crystal ball is just shaking its head. Yeah, we'll have this good photo ops coming on that one. Oh man, can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also on tonight's card, I'm not going to try to pronounce the one guy's name, but when you have a guy and he's got to take that next step, they have a fighter on the card. Looks like a Russian name. Like I said, I credit the announcer tonight on trying to pronounce it because it's not very easy. But he is taking the next 15-0, and he's taking the step up to fight a guy that is never at 8, Luis Colazo.
Yeah, Luis Colazo. I got it right here. He's fighting Kudratillo Abdukakarov. Wow, that's a tough one. 16-0. So, it's tough, steep test.
But like I said, Colazo was a guy. If you are going to be a world champion, this is the type of guy you need to go through. And he is no easy date.
And we also have. I guess I lost that one. We also have some other fights going on, but we'll get to them in a minute. As far as the main event, though, I want to just touch on this. We've got some interesting matchup. I've got an interesting matchup. We got Ukraine versus Russia. First of all, even though Beterbiev lives in Montreal, calls Montreal home. But we also have a situation. This is the guy Gvozdyk that put out Adonis Stevenson permanently, and then Koladzdik was undefeated in his last fight. And this is a fight I watched. Beterbiev's last fight, I saw it, and I was very, very impressed by Beterbiev's aggressiveness. And I don't think I've ever seen a light heavyweight as fast and aggressive and just wanting to destroy people like that. As you said, I don't think I've ever seen any kind of killer instinct like that since the early days of Mike Tyson. But yeah, I think Beterbiev, even though he has less fights, every one of them is a knockout win, and very few TKOs. He's actually got 3 straight KOs in a row, including the one over Radivoj Koladzdik, who was 24-0 going in. And then you got on the other side, though, you've got Gvozdyk, who literally retired Stevenson, and in his last fight took on a guy who was 38-8 and TKO'd him.
Well, you figure he put it down to Stevenson and they up.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I don't know, though. I don't think Gvozdyk is ready for the quickness and the intensity that Beterbiev's going to bring. But who knows? How are these guys going to be prepared? That's the problem. That's where the trainer thing is interesting. And I've watched a lot of John Scully's posts this week and him going to Philadelphia. And I noticed that when he posted that Pat's was the best cheesesteak in Philadelphia, there was no comment from you.
Yeah, well, I don't say anything. Hold on one second.
I know Tony doesn't agree with that. But, yeah, he's been there and he's been loving it, and he's talking to a lot of people and showing a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, and he's really into this, and he doesn't do a lot of it anymore. He doesn't do, like, a crazy amount of training. Like, he used to have, like, multiple fighters in his stable, and he doesn't do a lot of it, but he stays so involved in boxing as much as he can, especially with the alumni stuff with the amateur fighters. And, you know, even though I've interviewed both him and Teddy Atlas, I really want John Scully to get this win for his guy, and I think that of all people, he knows how to prepare someone for a fight like this. Not that Teddy doesn't, but
one last little thing I discovered about Beterbiev. He has a close relationship with George St. Pierre. How about that?
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, I guess he's immigrated from Russia to Montreal, and he's done some kind of training at TriStar. I'll send you guys a link on that one. Pretty interesting. But right now, guys, I hate to ring off quick, but duty's calling. This is a crazy afternoon for me. So we will get caught up next week, and let's enjoy everything. Tony, I'll be tonight, but all right?
All right.
Okay.
Good. Thanks a lot, Tom. All right, so
Rich, the other guy I wanted to bring up. We got Sonny Concept one star who I've met. He was originally trained by one of my old sparring partners, and he has spent the last 2 training camps with Tyson Fury, sparring with him directly. So, I mean, you don't get any better than that.
Right, and also, he's the first fight on the card, I believe, right?
I saw the lineup. I'll have to send it to you. I think even pushing him further enough back to maybe get him some television exposure because of the Tyson Fury connection.
Right. Right now, it shows at the bottom of the card. I know they don't put him in order. But, he's heavyweight 4-0, fighting Stephen Lyons, who is 5-5. And then, it's not really a whole hell of a lot of real competitive fights other than that. There's one 13-0 Joseph Adorno at lightweight fighting Damian Alejandro Sosa. But it looks like all the other fights are kind of set up for the guy with the better record.
Set up, you got the TV exposure, help them, look good, get a chance, get their name, some money.
Right. And then I wanted to recognize this fight over in Niagara Falls, New York, tonight. Maureen Shea, one of my very first interviews of a fighter on MySpace of all places. They called her the real $1 million baby, and I wrote a real nice article about her, and still follow her on Facebook and all that. And she's coming back into it. She's been in California for a while. She's back in New York here for this fight. And she actually had a problem with seasonal affective disorder. I don't know if you ever heard of that. But she got depressed because of winter, basically. And, the changing seasons. And so basically she said, screw it, I'm going to go to California and see how that does for me. So now she's back in New York here. I don't know if she's moved back here or she's just fighting back here. But featherweight fight here, 27-2 is her record. She's fighting Adina Kiss, who is 15-11. And, it's definitely going to be a good fight. It's the co-main event. Super lightweights Emmanuel Colon and Richard Zamora are in the main. And Colon is 16-1-1 and Zamora is 19-3. So, we're going to be rooting for her. And here's some news for you. We already heard Nigel Ben's coming back to boxing at his advanced age, right? So, now, another guy about that age is talking about a comeback, and it's somebody who talked about it before. And I'll give you one clue. He's 56. Who am I talking about?
Well, usually the person was 56, as in years old.
56 years old, yes.
66 years old.
50.
56. 56. I think 56 for a minute. I was like, oh, that was going to be real bad. 56 years old. I don't know.
He's not fake. There's your second one. He's the real deal.
Evander Holyfield?
Yeah.
Wow.
Evander Holyfield. He wants to come back now. Seriously considering it.
Who am I to tell him no, right?
Right.
Think it's a money issue?
Well, I was on a conference call with him once, and I get a question in about, what do you think about his age? This was back in 2006 when he was really, really at the tail end. And he said, age is nothing but a number. Back then.
Yeah,
so,
true.
We'll see. He's obviously had quite the career already, but he's been suffering from some money issues, from some family issues. There's a lot of children out there, our mouths to feed, so to speak. So it's always been about he's got to make money.
He got 36.
And I actually remember. Well, I've been watching. I watch CNBC a lot, and Alex Rodriguez has a show, Back in the Game or something like that. and he's going to have a vendor on there. So this could be related to that. Who knows? But yeah, he's notorious for his money issues, and which is probably why you don't see him more often out in the public eye, because he doesn't want to let people know that he has any left. It's probably so many people trying to get it.
Right.
So this is a great opportunity for him if he really is in shape to do it. He's had enough time off where he knows if he's capable or not. So as long as he takes the right steps and does it the right way, why not? I'd love to see it. Gives me hope. It's never too late for me. Anyway. Conor McGregor was charged with assault officially now. He could face jail time over there in Dublin. It was in district court there, and it was charged under Section 2 of the Non-Fatal Offenses Against the Person Act. Sounds a little weird, but that's how they word their law there. So, obviously, the legal trouble is probably worse than the reputational damage. But, he does have a lot of money, probably has the best lawyers. So I don't see him getting anything more than a lot of community service for this. But I still laugh at the fact that the guy just kind of smirked at it after he got hit. The old guy in the bar. Because this all stemmed from Conor McGregor having a little party in a Dublin bar, trying to promote his whiskey, giving everybody free shots. And the guy didn't say, hey, this whiskey sucks or anything like that. He just didn't drink it. So Conor came over and told him to drink it, and the guy said no, and he punched him in the face. And he was probably already a few whiskeys deep himself, so it was a horrible punch. And the guy literally just about laughed it off. He just kind of shrugged his shoulders and was just like, whatever, dude. I'm tough, too. So, yeah. We'll see how that goes for him. But he's turning into the new John Jones. There's all these little antics he's got going on. But the latest fight he's supposedly set up for is Frankie Edgar. So, I don't know if that's going to happen. It seems like so long ago that he was even sighted near a cage that he was competing in. So, it's going to take a lot to probably get him back. Anyway, speaking of a lot to get him back, Errol Spence Jr. lost a few teeth in a bad Ferrari accident, but is lucky to be alive. He was ejected from the vehicle. This was last week. Big story. Errol Spence Jr. I never saw the video, but apparently the worst part of the video is the fact that two people drove right past it. Didn't even stop.
Wow.
But he was ejected right out of the vehicle, and he had some facial lacerations, probably from broken glass or hitting something when he fell up from being ejected. But and he broke a couple teeth, but that was it. Very lucky to be alive. And this is like the second person celebrity in the last few months to be involved in a sports car crash. This was a Ferrari. I think it was the actor there, not the actor, actor too, comedian Kevin Hart. He just about broke his back in his crash in his sports car a couple months ago.
They said he is doing movie work again.
Yeah. So, facial lacerations only, no broken bones, and he will make a comeback in recovery. So, we will know soon if he has to make his comeback under a new nickname, Scarface. Too soon. Sorry. But yeah, and it's kind of an ironic situation too, because some people are just saying that his seatbelt actually not being buckled might have saved his life, because if he had been still in the vehicle, he might have been dead. So.
He is like the 1 in 1,000 where that happens.
Yeah.
For the most part,
you never want to advocate not wearing your seatbelt.
And
right.
That's the reason that you end up, dying. Where this is the one time that not wearing it may save your life.
Right. Now, I wish we had Tom on to talk about a couple of these things, but I got a couple more stories. But the big one, Patrick Day, another boxer, died in the ring this last weekend. It leads into the next thing about weight cutting and all that, but this doesn't appear to be anything involved with weight cutting or a mismatch, anything like it. It was a competitive fight.
It wasn't a mismatch. It was a competitive fight. And
it's one of those sad realities.
Did you see any of it?
I didn't see any of it, but I was kind of like ignoring the news that he was in a coma. And I wasn't even like opening it, and then I saw that he died, and I heard him talking about it on ESPN, and I looked into it a little more. And it kind of actually was ironic that today I just stumbled across something that talks about why Howard Cosell got out of commentating on boxing. And
because it was Larry Holmes' tech cop.
Yeah, it was one of the reasons. But he also, had problems with the management and promoters. Back then it was Don King versus Bob Arum. And you had to be with one guy or the other. So basically, they played by their own rules and created their own champions. And unless you had a promoter or manager in that circle, you're not going to get any recognition for your fighter. So there's the politics too, but it was
I remember
also
Don King used to, if he had a champion like Mike Tyson, you had to actually, if you were getting a fight with Tyson, you weren't one of his fighters, but you were the number one contender, and it was a mandatory defense. You basically had to sign a contract that if you won, you had to give King like the next 3 fights.
Yeah, and he said basically during that Tex Cobb fight, there was 26 unanswered blows in the 9th round. And the actual, Holmes actually got merciful in the 14th and 15th rounds. And Cobb was nothing more than a human punching bag. And he did say in his book, during that fight, I made up my mind to walk away from boxing forever. But he started having his problems with it earlier than that. And he said also in his book, as the 1970s wore on, I was increasingly concerned about the power that was falling into the hands of promoters Don King and Robert Arum, the kind of power that the courts had ruled illegal years before. King derives much of his power from his friendship with Jose Suleiman, the president of the WBC. Arum's connections are lodged in the World Boxing Association. Each has often in the past handed down rulings that defy logic and arouse suspicions or political chicanery. These organizations play by their own rules and create their own champions. And unless a promoter or manager is part of one or the other's inner circle, he will have a hell of a time getting proper recognition for his fighters. And he also added, through all the years, I wasn't naive enough to think I was covering a pristine sport. Corruption was all around, and I was trying to cope with it as best I could. But nothing was changing, no matter how hard I tried to expose the dirty underbelly of the sport, and my involvement in it served only to frustrate me more. And this is a big one. My attitudes toward the fights themselves was changing too. One man purposely endeavors to inflict bodily harm on another man. I had seen Benny Perrette die, and Willie Klassen die, and Cleveland Denny die, and the dying slowly eats away at you. I had seen Ernie Shavers and Sugar Ray Leonard hurt their eyes, and I had seen Sugar Ray Seals receive permission to fight even though he was close to blindness. And I couldn't shake the gut-wrenching anguish of watching Ali in his twilight as one comeback after another stripped him of his dignity and stature. Oh, we lost Tony. And Howard Cosell never broadcast another fight on TV, but he had good reason to kind of walk away at that point. Just reconnecting with Tony. Patrick Day, he had a 17-4 record with one draw. Hey, there he is. We lose you?
Yeah, everything went blank.
Right, so I just kind of read some quotes from Howard Cosell about, how the deaths affected him bad. He witnessed a few of them himself. And so this is just the latest, and it's an average of unlucky 13 every year. But it's been a tough year for boxing this year. And we've seen more than just deaths.
Because
we've
two
seen
of them were high profile
yeah.
with the Maxim Dadashev fight and now Patrick Day. I didn't see the Patrick Day fight live, so I was over at a friend's house Saturday night. I was driving home, and then I got an alert, and it was some of my Facebook friends saying, like, pray for Patrick Day. Oh my God, this doesn't look good. And I'm like, oh shit, something must have happened. So when I got home, I got the ESPN report, and then they said kind of what happened. So I watched some of the highlights of it, and you're right, it was a competitive fight. It was an accomplished fighter. Patrick Day was a Golden Gloves champion. He had a 17-3 record. He wasn't much of a puncher, only 6 knockouts, and he was, the next step up for, I believe, Conwell, I believe the guy's name was, Charles Conwell, or something like that, who was an Olympian and an ascending prospect. So Patrick Day was the next step. There were 2 knockdowns earlier in the fight, the 4th and the 8th round. But they said Patrick really looked like he started to fatigue late in the fight, and he wasn't taking the punches well. Right. And when the final stretch that was the knockout was Kama landed a right hand, and Day kind of staggered away from him, and it reminded me of when Tommy Hearns was on his way down versus Marvin Hagler when his legs were kind of going, and he staggered away almost with his back to Hagler. That's what the first punch kind of reminded me of, where Day staggered away, almost with his back turned, comes to another right hand, which kind of glanced, and when Day stepped to his right, Conwell stepped in with a left hook and just caught him flush on the chin. Boom, he went down, his head hit off the mat hard. And I don't know if it was the combination of the previous punishment he took.
Can you tell us what happened with the way this really whole story from beginning to end?
Suffering, his brain was already, in the process of in like a shutdown mode, and that last punch kind of put him over the top, or if it was the effect of his head hitting off the canvas so violently.
Yeah, that's one of those things that you don't often think about in fighter deaths, but sometimes it can be the impact of the canvas. If you're not bracing yourself for it.
Taken out with stretchers. You're right, it is scary. Because I was at a fight 6 months ago where a fighter got taken out with a stretcher, and it was dead silent. I mean, dead silent. I mean, he was the home kid as well, so he had friends and family there. But there's one difference that I will tell you between that one and this one. When I was at the Christian Carter fight, when he got knocked out, when he went down, you're right, he landed silently. He wasn't moving. The referee stopped the fight. They got the doctor, and almost immediately, as they did with Patrick Day, there was 10 minutes on the ground before they wheeled him out. But as I was walking out, the referee was kind of walking past me, and somebody said something, and he said, no, he's conscious, and he is responding. They're just being precautious, which was good. With Patrick Day, was when he hit the ground, he was immediately unconscious, and he never regained consciousness through the whole procedure, through the whole, taking him out of the ring. So that's when you knew it was, going to be a tragic situation.
And he had a tough fight, the last fight before this, in June. Carlos Adams, 17-0, and he went the distance, lost by unanimous decision, and two belts were on the line there. NABF and WBO, super welterweight title, and then right into another fight where then gets knocked down and up against an undefeated fighter again, Charles Cornwell. And Cornwell was very distraught by the whole situation and was contemplating quitting the sport altogether. And you can't blame him. Just a rough situation to have to go through that. And you wonder, like, what is the purpose? Why would I make money in a sport that I could kill somebody? And I just did. Yeah, it's just much like survivor's guilt kind of thing. But
it is.
It's a crazy dynamic. But it's just one of those things where
it's like you don't want to do this, but at the same time,
special fraternity.
And you don't
but it can kill you.
Like, oh, kill or be killed or anything like that, because that's not what you're looking for.
Yeah. Anyway, on a side note, but not really a side note, because this could have a factor in these situations. We don't know. We don't know the story of the weigh-in, how much the fighter gained in weight, either fighter, in the days afterwards, if that was a factor. But it is a factor in a lot of fights. And one of the ones that comes to mind, we've talked about on the show before, is Joey Gamache versus Arturo Gatti.
Yeah, Arturo Gatti. I was just going to say that, yeah, because Gatti up a good 19 pounds, and Gamache went up like 3. And you could see it looked like a middleweight and a welterweight in that, which is technically what they were, you know. And
so the California State Athletic Commission.
On the flip side, because if you cut weight so hard, you know, as you said, like your body doesn't have fluid surrounding the brain to protect it because you dehydrate so much of it, and you don't honestly fully get the chance to replenish it. You know, so it's, you know, it could be disastrous either way.
Right, and I had already had this article up before. Actually, Max Kellerman tried to make this point on the show that they should change the time of the weigh-in to the day of the fight, so these people don't have 24 hours to hydrate themselves to the point of, you know, putting on all these pounds. But the California State Athletic Commission took a different take on this, and they say that they would cancel the fight if a competitor weighs more than 15% above the contracted fight weight on the day of the event. So rather than, you know, not giving enough rest time for a fighter to recover from an extreme weight cut, they're just saying, okay, we're going to set a limit to how much you can weigh in, but you'll have to weigh in the day of the fight as well. Which some fighters already have clauses in championship contracts for stuff like that. So I don't see why they couldn't do that across the board. But it's one of those things where it's the unknown. Like, how many fights have resulted in mismatches that created catastrophic injuries to fighters because of weight as the primary factor?
Right.
We don't know. But it's a perfect example with this Joanna Jedrzejczyk situation, because, as I was telling Tom earlier, this girl who was a champion at her weight class, she had an extreme weight cut that was all over the news. She had to go to the UFC Performance Institute to save her chances at making weight. She said she just all of a sudden gained a bunch of weight and she didn't know why. So she had to go to the UFC Performance Institute, and she said it was a secret as to how they made the weight. Well, they wouldn't tell anybody. Like, and it makes you wonder what the hell they're doing at this Performance Institute. But, you know, the fight's got to go on. There's a lot of money involved. Like, what did they do to this girl?
Right.
Anyway, when she goes to the fight, I saw pictures of her in the fight. And she's a very skinny girl, but she looked jacked. And she won by unanimous decision. Went all 5 rounds. So she not only made the weight, but she was able to hydrate herself in time to put on a 5-round fight. So I don't know if that's part of the reason they're doing this, but it does sort of give you an unfair advantage if you can do that extreme weight cut and then just pack the pounds right on in that 24-hour period. But anyway, it's not uncommon, according to this article on ESPN, for MMA fighters to gain anywhere from 8% to 18% of their weight back from the weigh-ins to the fight.
Wow.
So this could have a major factor. And maybe they should knock it down to 10%, for Christ's sake.
One of the guys that's really been a proponent during his career was Floyd Mayweather. Because what Mayweather would do was, like, you would see with a lot of his fights, they had so many day weigh-ins, which I think is when you have a scheduled weigh-in where it's a 30-day out, and you have to be at a certain target weight.
Yeah.
So that way you're you know, reducing the chances of guys getting too heavy or, you know, trying to compete at weights that they really shouldn't be at. That's one possible solution.
Right.
Or I mean, you're taking this, you have a 30-day window, a 15-day window where you have to be at some amount. That way, you're making sure that you're not doing like these, you know, dangerous weight cuts.
Right. going to be like, drug testing, but it's going to be weight cut testing.
Yeah, really.
You're going to have a weight cut monitor. Like, what do they call it? People, air marshal, like an air marshal. He's going to follow you around. You're not going to know who he is. He's going to be your weight cut monitor. He's going to be a secret guy in your training camp. I don't know. They got to do something, but I don't know. I really don't know how much of a concern it is as far as boxing goes, but it's definitely big in MMA. I've definitely seen it happen where people look a lot bigger. It's in both sports for sure, but it's probably one of the only sports that has that kind of a problem because it's a one-on-one thing. Weights are involved. Yeah. There's not a lot of sports where you have to weigh in before the match.
You're right with the one-on-one where it's like, if a football player gets dinged, they can take him off the field, they can check him out, make sure that he is, okay before he gets out there. To back him up the field.
Right.
So
we definitely give our condolences to Patrick Day's family, and we're sad to see it happen. We also just want to see something done so that it's that it doesn't happen. And the NFL is a good point. They've had their criticisms up and down for giving their players painkillers in the middle of matches. I mean, you saw the game last night, but Patrick Mahomes had his knee popped in, and he looked like he might go back into the game. He just popped his damn knee back in.
For a little bit, I thought he was, and I'm like, great, because he's on my 50 team.
Yeah.
Wow. When he went down, I'm like, oh, Christ, there goes my season. And I'm saying, I'm like, shit, there goes my season.
No, he might make a bounce back, but yeah, that was a tough one. I had him on one of my rosters too for the one game. But yeah, I mean, they've had their situation with CTE and concussions and second impact syndrome and people killing themselves and wanting their brains donated for research. So it's just same type of issues, and more so in boxing, it's the pugilistic dementia where you don't die, but you have lifelong effects from spending too long in the ring. So in the NFL's favor, they've made some changes. They've made some real big changes. You don't see helmet-to-helmet hits or without flags now. Even accidents. I saw a football game last Sunday night, I believe, where there was a total accident. The guy was in coverage, wasn't looking, had his head down, and the other dude ran into him, helmet to helmet, and they freaking threw the flag. So it's just like there is no toleration for this contact, and you obviously can't do that in boxing, but maybe train the referees enough to notice when somebody's having cognitive difficulties. Maybe get doctors to go in there and really have seminars with these referees and show them the signs and really educate them on what to look for when somebody's about to have a major brain incident or they're not functioning properly. And fuck it, if the guy's pissed, you stop the fight. You saved his life if you want to look at it the right way. You can live with that. So maybe they just need to have some intensive, down-to-earth educational classes.
Being on the competitive nature, I understand where the fighters come from. And, you're a fighter. You have that competitive instinct, and it's like it's hard. It's hard on the side.
And Max Kellerman, I loved it when they said, "Oh, there's anybody at ESPN that's knowledgeable about boxing. It's got to be Max Kellerman." I'm thinking, what about Dan Raphael? You guys just threw him under the bus.
Yeah, right.
But Max was saying, the weigh-in thing, and also that, it's just you have situations where some refs just are stupid about stopping fights. They just. I mean, announcers are sitting there yelling almost at them to stop the fight, and they're just watching. And it's like they don't want to offend anybody. It's like, that's your job. You're not there to root for anybody. You might want that kid to have a chance.
From being a fighter, because the referees got They go into the locker room. They go and talk to the guys. And I could see it. I could see if I could see this being me saying, "Listen, don't you touch nothing. Don't you stop nothing. Don't you do nothing. Don't you." And it's like you're almost like trying to like intimidate the referee, saying, "Something's wrong. I got this." Where not always the best thing, but.
And also, like in MMA, happens a lot. So the referee will say, "I gotta see something. I gotta see something." You know? So you warn them. You give them that warning, and if they don't respond, then you shut the fight down. I'd like to see a little more of that too. And like I said, this is no indictment of the referee in the Patrick Day fight. I didn't see it, so I don't know whether he had a chance to see something that would have indicated, hey, now is the time, and helped save him. But these things are often flukes.
Right.
Like a guy that would never expect this to happen to, it could happen to. And this guy was 27 years old.
Go back to one of the famous fights in history, the Ray Mancini-Dooku Kim fight, one of the most famous ring deaths of all time.
Yeah.
If you go back and you watch that fight from beginning to end, Dooku Kim took the fight to Boom Boom Mancini from literally the first punch. Fastball came flying out of the corner, landed a big left hand. So Dooku Kim came to fight. So now the fight's going back and forth, back and forth. It's nip and tuck both sides. These guys are going at it. Then you go to the 14th round. Boom Boom comes across, and he does like a sidestep. And the sidestep lands a right hand, and boom, hits Dooku with like a left hook, lands another right hand, and Dooku went down and out. It was that. Even the doctors even said, because Dooku's so competitive, he had no signs of wanting went into that. They said it was literally that point. They literally jerked something in his brain. It might have knocked something loose, which ends up being the reason of his death. That fight, there was nothing that could have been done.
Right. So, yeah. And then you have the fights where it's what happens after the fight that results in the injury because the guy doesn't get the attention right away. Like the Magomedov there.
Right.
So, all kinds of issues they got to look at. But, no, chief thing that they could definitely address tomorrow is educating refs better on what to look for. Check those eyes, look for those signs of sluggishness, and don't hesitate. If you want to save lives, just don't hesitate. The first inkling you have that hey, maybe you need to stop this, you do it. Don't ask yourself questions. Don't let the guy that's had a good round before, but is getting damaged to demolished now. Don't let him
right.
stop you from trying to save somebody's life just because you want him to have a good night if he possibly can. He'll fight another day. That's the problem. With not wanting to stop it.
Yeah.
He might not fight another day if you don't. So I think they just need to be better educated on the symptoms of concussions and what to look for. I mean, like that Harvard thing that I always talk about with the monkeys in the helmets. You watch that and you can see the type of damage that causes somebody to get knocked out. And if somebody gets punched and doesn't get knocked out, but their heads react that way, they get twisted that way, and you see that, and the fighter still fights through it, but he's starting to slow down. It's just those little things you can look out for and stop. And you stop the fight. At least say to the guy, hey, I need you to show something, or else I'm going to stop it. And if he just continues the way he continues to not show enough, then you just got to stop it. It's better safe than sorry. It's use a cliche, but that's the way they've got to look at it.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you got to agree there.
And so hopefully we don't have any incidents tonight. Hopefully all the fighters go home without any serious incidents. And
hopefully just one of them good, fun, competitive fight cards. I know the crowd's going to be fired up, so I'm looking forward to it, man.
All right. Well, I got one more story to talk about. Anthony Johnson, talking about coming back to fight John Jones. Talk about extreme weight cutting. Anthony Johnson is actually a subject of the same discussion on weight cutting when we were talking to Ken Pavia on the show years ago. And Anthony Johnson was backstage, and Ken Pavia had an issue with Dana White at the time, something about contracts. He shared some contracts with Bellator. that the UFC had given their fighters, and so Dana White got pissed at him and threw him out of the backstage area when he was trying to help Anthony Johnson with his weight cut before weigh-in. And he's the only guy there with Anthony. Guy's about to die from weight cut. You know, he's like, and then Dana White says, "Get the fuck out of here, dude." So left him by himself. But anyway, Anthony Johnson now has stepped away from the cage for a couple of years, and still feels like he has something left, and he wants to get low enough first, and then he's going to fight at 205. He's always wanted that fight. He got called off, and he got thrown in with Daniel Cormier instead, which I totally blew both times. I thought that he was going to win both fights. They had 2 fights, and it went the same way both times. So now he wants his rematch with Jones, or for the match that was supposed to happen, but John Jones got in trouble for something. That was either the hit and run or something else at the time that canceled that one. But anyway, yeah, so this fight could happen if he gets back into it, probably next year at some point. But we'll definitely see how it works out. But the weight cut will probably be the biggest thing, because he was one of those people that really would balloon up for his fights, especially when he went up to 205 from middleweight. So it's going to be interesting. That's for damn sure. And I guess that's it for this week. And
yep, this is our rare Friday afternoon edition.
Yes. And we'll be back at our regularly scheduled time next week. We might possibly have a guest.
Cool.
I guess we got to get Keisha Morrissey back on the show. And I will have I'll have the non-old man voice next week. I'm not smoking a pack a day, folks. Don't worry. I just have a cold.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
All right. All right.
All right.
Till next week. Enjoy the fights, as Tom would say.
I'm going to shut this up. I'm going to go charge my...
Take lots of pictures.
Oh, I will. You know, I got all my stuff ready. I'm going to, see a lot of people tonight, because it's, like I said, a Philly thing. And, I'm going to go charge my phone now. I'm going to get some stuff prepped for Halloween, because I'm having some people over tomorrow night. I'm working on an Ultimate Warrior costume as we speak.
Nice.
Dude, wait till you see this. You're going to fucking love it, dude.
Well, pretty soon you're going to be able to do a Tyson Fury costume.
Maybe. You might be right.
There'll be another wrestling superstar to add to your costume repertoire.
Yeah, it could be.
All right, buddy.
Well,
have fun.
Well, man, I'll talk to you later, and I'll send you guys some pictures tonight.
All right, awesome.
Later.
Adios. Bye-bye. There we have it.